All right, everybody,
What's up?
welcome back to the channel. We're going to do a little bit different. This is going to be a new series where I speak with veteran players that use some of these commanders. It's going to be a different way of looking at commanders. I hope you guys enjoy it. So, for this video, we're going to start with EXE Neva. Most of you should know who he is. He's on Gear Talk and Pit My Arc. He's also a part of EXE, a very top end guild. Very knowledgeable. He's been playing this game for a while. His main is Satalia, and we're going to be taking a look at her today. So, Nev, if you want to pull up your Satalia.
All righty, I'll pull her up with no gear and no what you call it for right now, just
That,
to
that's fine.
give it a little bit of a yeah. Because I'm actually I wanted to, I'll dive in. I'll show you why I do what I do with what I do, how I do it. You know what I'm
Yeah. So, first,
saying?
why did you choose
Okay.
Satalia?
Well, the thing is, if you're a Walker main in this game, there's only ever really been two solid choices for Walker, right? Your Sister Wolf or your Elf, and to be honest, I wanted something a little bit different that could do a little bit different things because the way the game was evolving, I've seen that Sister Wolf was becoming less effective as a main. So I needed something that would kind of be like that still wall in between. And I got to reading on Satalia. So Satalia is a really interesting commander and how she works. When you think of Satalia, what do you think of? You think of tank, right? You think of tanking her out and her being a tank commander, right?
That's
So
fine.
like, why do you think she would be tanked? Well, because most high end meta player walkers are tank, and that's what they run. They have the tank gear. If you think about it, elves have the fucking Tanglang dual Aldebaran or Hectobolus. They have all this tank high end gear, but and they try to think that's going to work on Satalia, right? But you got to look at how she works. So first thing I want to bring up is her second. Was it second skill? No, first skill. Let's bring up first skill, life absorb. So the way it reads is 60% chance to trigger before the next action. After this attack, recover 60% of attack damage as HP. That's a heal. So
Pretty significant heal
if
if
you're
you can
trying
deal
to
the
tank,
damage.
yeah, yeah. But the thing is, you can't get the damage if you tank, right? So you got to think of Satalia as a different style of commander. You got to think of her as more like a hybrid. You still want her to be tanky because Walker has to be tanky, but you want to think of her as a tanky motherfucker that's going to hit you hard as hell, right?
Hmm.
That way you can get that skill, that heal from the skill, the life absorb, because that's a pretty significant heal, and it's based on the attack damage, the amount of damage that you're doing. So if you don't have any attack because you're running dual Aldebarans, you're not going to get as significant of a heal, or if you do something like an Alcade. So that was my first choice on that. Alcade. Why Alcade? Because it gives you a little bit of accuracy, but it gives you some attack damage. Now, of course, you can probably throw in some different things and mixing up and everything, but this is just the base setup for it that I've originally tested, and it freaking works. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I added that Alcade in to be able to get that more attack damage off the life absorb itself. So and she runs differently. She does take on bigger commanders, even at the leadership that I run it at. So that's that's an interesting fact about her is that she can hit up really well as well. So that's why I chose her, to be honest with you, because she's just a different commander that actually fills a better role and does it better than the current meta, which would be Elf and Sister Wolf on the Walker side at least.
Okay, so with the 1.3, is that leadership like your target leadership, or is that just all you have and you would put more on her if you could?
If I could put more on her, honestly, I would, but it's
Okay.
just not necessarily necessary. But I would 100% because I mean this is definitely a main com. I'm only at 1.3 million leadership, and I'm able to fight level 100 AI elves and win with this. So she's a really interesting common how she works, to be honest with you.
Okay, so obviously gear and tech is gonna be an important factor, but what would you think is like the leadership thresholds people should be trying to meet?
I would honestly go with like 1.2 to be real with you. 1.2 is pretty attainable, but I wouldn't go anything lower because I noticed that after, because I think that's about what the leadership I'm running right now is 1.2 on it with the troops I'm running. I'm not even running, my full slots on what I can actually run. I'm just running at base like a 1.2 million leadership march. Anything lower, I noticed it does get destroyed. Unfortunately, a lot easier because it doesn't have that tankiest side to it as well. Because it's
Okay,
just not enough it's just not enough, troop value in there. It's not
like
going to survive
that
as
makes
long.
sense.
Mhm.
So what about the
So you want
second
to have a
skill
little
now?
bit higher leadership.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, second skill. I love second skill. Yeah, second skill. I love second skill. That's a 60% chance to trigger before the next action. On this turn, if the target is hit, absorbs target attack bonus until combat ends. It's not affected by any of those skills. So pretty much, you're absorbing their attack damage, and you're pretty much jumping it back over to them. Now I know people don't think it's a still effect and everything, but after countless hours of testing this combo before I even brought her out of the thing, it really does fucking seem like it actually is stealing the shit out of their attack damage as well and adding it to yours. But it makes it where they're not hitting you as hard, so you're able to survive a little bit longer. And that's the reason why I also chose status quo as the fourth skill, because I wanted to have a little bit more survivability while building up damage, right? Fun fact about that is Satalia doesn't have to have quote either. I've tested it multiple times in multiple different things. She can run with a mind map. She can run with and still be effective. She's just not going to go as long as against the bigger elves and stuff like that with a different force skill.
Yeah, so the second skill, it sounds like leverage. Is that how it works? The air talent leverage. Does it work the same?
I would say similarly, it seems to be working very similar to it actually. No, it's not supposed to. I don't know if it's not supposed to work that way because wording can mean being different and everything, but that attack damage that you're getting definitely is a huge factor because you're getting that back and pretty much relating into them. By the time I've triggered two soul absorb skills, my fucking blue hunks, when they hit so fucking hard because of that. You know what I'm saying? So it definitely, I guess you could say similarly works in a way of leverage, but not exactly the same and not the way it calculates either.
Okay.
Yep.
And then with the plugins, you said you can use
Yes.
a few different plugins.
Mhm. I've noticed that in my testing, and we actually have another player that's actually played with this comp for a lot longer than I have actually. But I've noticed that during our testing, and he even does it himself during things. You can run things like a mind map for another guaranteed hit on it, or you can run. I'm Steam Cannon is not as effective, but you can definitely run that mind map and actually get some good things or status quo. Um, I personally chose the status quo option because I built mine a little bit more tankier than most, but that would be built. But yeah, there's like three different options you can run with Satalia.
So would you say that? So it sounds like there's different options. Would you say that you should pick one that you like enjoying the best for your gameplay, or do you think it's feasible to just keep them at level 10 and swap them around if that's what people want to do?
Unfortunately, you cannot do that if you're trying to go the status quo route, right? So you want to be able to, on that particular aspect, you want to be able to pick your style of play. You won't like, you don't want to be like interchangeable like Sister Wolf was, to where you're changing up left and right and all this, that, and other. Especially when you get into the gameplay that like the level I play at, where you have to, be maxed at everything and the best at everything and get the most benefits out of everything you can. You know what I'm saying? To actually win
Yep.
the battles. So at a lower end play, you could probably run like a level 10 mind map or a level, 10 steam cannon or something like that, or level 10 rampage or something like that, and get some decent use out of it. But if you go on the crow route, you don't want to go anything lower than level 15. I would say. I know that doesn't sound like a lot with crow. You don't need level 30 crow with this area either. By the way, you just need level 15. What am I? 16, 15,
Yeah,
16.
16 right now.
Yeah, that's it. Fun fact about her.
Huh.
Awesome. I love it.
Okay, now, I mean, I think for the most part, Awakenings would be, and you don't have to share this because I know you do fight with people in GB, um, but if you want to share it, you can. is there an awakening that you set it to and you never change it, or is it kind of like everybody else where it can be swapped around depending on the fight?
It can be swapped around.
Okay.
I will say that, but I won't say what I do personally. But I say it
Nope.
can be.
Yeah, that's completely understandable.
Yeah.
So you brought up the alcade. Now, is that something
Mhm.
that is you said you started when you were testing it. Now, is that a permanent fixture?
I would keep it in the build, but it doesn't. It's not. It's the one. If you want to change out, matter of fact, I'll post my build. Okay. All right. So this is my build right here. Tangling, Broken Fortress, Alcade, Ambition, Regulus. Not really high end. Not really high end gear, to be honest with you.
I mean, the
Still
Broken
pretty high end, but
Fortress,
not
but
really high.
other than that,
Broken Fortress is kind of phased out right now, man. You know what I'm saying? There's not a lot of use for Broken Fortress out there with all that ignore DR. To be honest with you.
mhm.
Um. So I mean, it's still there, but I mean, it's still kind of high end. But the Alcade would be something I could switch out. To be honest with you, I could switch it out for something with, like, for example, this. No, I didn't want to say it. One of the Sun Raven pieces if I need to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Um, I could do a couple of different options with that. You don't have to have the way I specifically gemmed my set. You don't have to have the as much accuracy with it, to be honest with you.
okay.
So it's an interchangeable piece as long as you're getting that attack damage. Like I said, it's all about that attack damage with this one. You want to be able to tank, yes, but you need some damage in your build, because if not, you're getting no use out of your first skill at all.
Yeah, of course. And depending on what pieces you have, you can swap some around for what you have to get damage where you need it. And you're gonna have to test this
Yeah,
commander, I would assume, to try to make sure you have that right balance of damage plus a little bit of tankiness just to survive. Is that right?
it's yeah, exactly, 100% correct. You have to go test until you get that perfect stat on the right. It's got to be a perfect balance with her. Once you got a perfect balance with Satalia, she becomes a massive asset in the battlefield when it comes, especially on the GV side of things, because she can do a role that some tank walkers can't, and that's go up against certain, like, hard hitting comms or 3-piece comms, something like that. You know what I'm saying? She can
Mhm.
actually take that, because with walkers, you get a bunch of different heals. And it's all about stacking your heal with this one, right? So it actually, yeah.
And
Sorry,
then
ramble.
you don't have to, you can leave some of this, because you are an active player. You do participate in GC quite often, so you don't have to answer
Yeah,
this. But I would assume, depending on your gear, and depending on how you have allocated your AI up to this point, you might be able to use a defensive or an offensive AI.
correct. That is
Okay,
correct. You can use either.
it kind of depends on your gear and,
So
and then how it works out in your testing.
yeah,
All right, that's good to
yeah.
know.
There are a couple of different options of AI you can run with this. I won't. I mean, just don't think of it as a super tank. That's all I'm saying. If you're going to be building one, I'll give that a little bit of information out. Don't think
Okay.
of it as a super tank. Yeah. So your AI one, don't think of that one.
Yeah, I mean you're an EXE. You guys are fighting, at the very high
Mm-hmm.
end, and the simple fact that you're using Satalia, I think you started using Satalia before a lot of people even thought that she was good. I know there's
Yeah,
always outliers out there that are like, oh, I've heard this guy is running this commander, but I know you've been working on it for a while now. So, yeah, if
I've been
it,
around I've been working on it in the background for quite some time now. There are some people that did bring up Satalia options out there before, but they thought about it as the tank style or going after trigger rate. They didn't think about the going to the hybrid setup and everything, and that's where I pioneered that. And she's a stout commander, dude. She really is. You don't want to think of her as tank, because she's not a tank. She's not a super tank walker. She's tanky, and I'm running tank gear, but she's not a super tank. She does it differently, and that's what you got to think of. Like how you gym it and everything has got to be different.
Yeah, of course. And I just before we end this, I do just want to point out, uh, he is at the end game and he has an ambition. So when I talk about you need to have ambition, at least one, you're looking at an end game player with a level 50 ambition. So make sure you're paying attention to the gear that we're talking about in our gear talks, because some of them can be used at the very end game, and you might not think they can.
Oh, I love my ambition. I love it. I've tried multiple different pieces, and that one's top. That's the one I. That's it. That was the one I decided on because it does the better. It just gave the better options of the couple of different options I tried. I mean, I still got one other piece that I could interchange, but I like my ambition better.
Sometimes it's about
To be honest,
preference.
yeah. I mean, and this is the way it works into the build too, as well. You know.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, Neva, I really appreciate you walking us through Satalia, giving us some pointers on how other people might be able to build them if they're looking into it. Do you have anything you want to say before we head out?
No, I would just like to continue the series, man. I'd like to something new and everything going down to Commander breakdowns. I think we can talk about it and everything like that. I think you can get a little bit of views off that, and just make sure you like and subscribe to Grinch's video as always. Have fun and kick ass. That's it.
All right, Neva, I appreciate it. You can check us out in Gear Talk, Pimp My Arc. Until then, I am the Grinch, and I'm out.